Hello folks, welcome back to my kitchen. Emily here, your Harvest Market dietitian, and I have pizza this week. So excited. I love a good pizza. This is such a great kind of springtime pizza. As the weather starts kind of turning a little bit warmer. This one is great because it doesn't have, we're not doing a traditional like red sauce on the bottom. We are doing like an olive oil and herb and parm with fresh spinach and artichoke hearts. Super excited. Okay, so here's what you need to get started. We're gonna be using this kind of pre-prepared dough, which I love. So you can find pizza dough, like already made pizza dough, anywhere in the store. I get this special ordered for my kits, but you can pretty much find this stuff anywhere. In fact, I think our bakery has started to offer some homemade pizza dough, but if you wanna make your own, I do have a really, really great recipe as well. That's not difficult. It's so simple, so good. But anyway, this is just for ease of distributing, and because I have so many meal kits that I do, this is great. So you're gonna take your pre-prepared dough and, sorry, getting ahead of myself. I have my rolling pin here next to me. I've got just a little tiny bit of flour sprinkled on my counter here. Now, I don't want a whole lot of flour because I want the dough, if we have too much flour, what happens is the dough kind of slides around and we never get that really good stretch. So we need it kind of to adhere to the counter just slightly so that it can stretch a little bit. So just a little bit of flour is really all you need. The other thing that we're gonna have nearby, so we have our olive oil and seasonings nearby, our Parmesan cheese, cornmeal. This is gonna go on our pizza sheet pan. So this is the pizza pan that I'm using. This is a 12-inch pizza pan. We're probably gonna go like an inch less, so it's probably going to be around 10 or 11 inches. I'm doing the 2-person here. Now it all depends on how thick or thin you like your crust. I like kind of a thinner crust, and this is how I tested it for this kit. So each person would get 4 slices. So what else? Oh, if you are using sun-dried tomatoes, empty those in your little dish with a little bit of warm water to soak. This will get them really nice and soft, so it's not like you're chewing on rubber bands. Total game changer right here. If you've never soaked your sun-dried tomatoes, because I'm not a fan of the ones in a lot of the oil sometimes, depending on what I'm using it for. So this is a great way to get soft sun-dried tomatoes if they're dried. Okay, so let's start preparing our dough. So what we're gonna do is, with clean hands, we're just gonna kind of start working it. Now, I don't know about you, but I can never get my dough to be a perfect circle, and that's okay. It is totally fine. Whenever I'm trying to make a circle, I get a square and vice versa, so it is what it is. But a couple important things that we're gonna need to know. Well, first of all, I just kind of like to go around. Oh, it smells so good. I love that yeasty smell of dough. Oh, it's just lovely. So earthy and delicious. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of go around, and this is just gonna kind of get it started for us so we can kind of begin with a semi-circle of sorts, at least. Okay, kind of an amoeba shape here, star. I don't know what this is, but we're gonna work with it, okay? So here's what we wanna do. Couple things to note. When we are rolling, you always want to roll from the center outward in all directions. So that means you're going to pick up your rolling pin and you're going to do it center outwards in all directions. Why? If we do it this way, we never, it just kind of like shrinks in and out, in and out, in and out like that. So we want to make sure that we get the dough stretched out in all directions. And in all directions kind of gives us that circle that we're looking for. So the other really important thing is to keep your dough moving. The worst thing is when we roll this perfect dough, this perfect crust, and it is so solid stuck to our counter and we can't get it off and we end up ruining it. So Keep your flour nearby. You may find that you need a little bit more, you may not, just depending. But make sure that you do kind of keep flipping your crust over. So you guys, I am going to work on my crust. I'm going to show you the whole process, just sped up a little bit. So here we go. Okay, so my crust is rolled out. I don't know what shape this is. It is definitely not a circle. It kind of looks like a starfish, but I'm into it, so whatever. It's gonna taste exactly the same. So don't be too nitpicky about your shape. Couple quick things. Now, I know when I'm rolled out to kind of max capacity of where I need to be, when I'm rolling out and it's no longer coming back in on itself. So when I roll it out, it kind of stays put. That's when I know that I'm at a good diameter, I guess. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare our sheet pan. Now, you don't have to have a circle sheet pan for this. It can be square, it can be whatever you want it to be. I really don't care, just something to cook it on. So we have this here. You don't need to spray it or anything. What we are going to do though is sprinkle this cornmeal in here, and that's gonna help our pizza not stick, and it adds that beautiful texture at the bottom of our pizza. That texture that you really kind of look for in a good pizza with that cornmeal on the bottom. I don't know. To me, that's like a good pizza, something like you get out to eat. So we're gonna sprinkle this all around. Make sure that you really, really, really coat the bottom. This is gonna help, again, it not to stick. Oops, a little heavy-handed on that side, that's all right. I like to get the edges especially, because that's oftentimes where the cheese likes to melt and then adhere and stick to the pan. So I like to make sure that I have some cornmeal there to kind of make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so next thing we're going to transfer. I like to use my rolling pin to transfer. So I just kind of lift up the edge here. And again, this is why it's really, really, really important that you keep your dough moving so it doesn't stick. And then we're just gonna transfer here. I'll move this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then just transfer it right on. So when you add it onto here, it's going to wanna kind of stretch back on itself. Totally normal. And here you can kind of stretch it to make it fit where you want it to. Again, mine is not perfect, but I love it just the same. So this is gonna be, again, about 10 or 11 inches in a 12-inch pan. And this is for a 2-person. So we have this here. This is gonna be loaded with deliciousness. So you can kind of form it when it gets into your pan. Sometimes I'll even, like, you may have seen me in the fast video, I kind of like fold it over on itself. If I have like a dip in the side that I want to fill in, kind of fold it over on itself and then just kind of smoosh it down. So you can mush and meld this into, whatever you need it to. Okay, ta-da, perfect. So we have our oven preheating at 425. We're gonna bake our crust. And this means that we are just going to partially bake it so that we get a really nice golden beautiful crust. We're gonna kind of bake the olive oil and seasonings into the bottom along with the Parmesan. So this is not only going to create amazing flavor, but it's also gonna create this kind of barrier. So in case there is any juice or liquid from the spinach or artichokes or whatever chicken, it kind of creates a seal so that the crust doesn't get super soggy. So I'm just gonna give this a shake. We have our basting brush here and pour it all on. We are going to liberally spread this. So the great thing about your own homemade pizza is that you can go all the way up to the edges. So you don't have like a big, wide, fat crust with nothing on it. You can have the entire pizza covered with deliciousness. So I'm gonna spread it all the way to the corners. There are no corners in this, although mine kind of has some corners. It's not very circular. And that is okay. Like I said, we love her anyways, don't we? Okay, gorgeous. Now we're gonna put on that Parmesan cheese and we're gonna bake it right into that crust. Spread it on there. A little bit goes a long way with this. It's very pungent, powerful, delicious, and we have more cheese coming later. Okay, so we're gonna pop this in our 425-degree oven for 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, my pizza smells unbelievable. I kind of left it in a little bit too long, but honestly, I really like crispy, crunchy brown things. So this is perfect for me. You might notice that you get some bubbles in here. You could definitely prick it with a fork before it goes in, but I'll just like pop it with a knife. No big deal. Okay, so now we have that here. I'm gonna give my basil and spinach a rough chop. And this is really all the chopping you have to do. You can chop up your artichoke hearts as well, but your sun-dried tomatoes don't need any chopping, and this will shrink as it cooks as well. So, ooh, really quick important thing here. We want to squeeze our artichoke hearts. So these puppies love to hang on to liquid, and they are housed in a brine to keep them from drying out, obviously, and to give them some flavor. So what I like to do is I like to keep my little cup here, and then look at all that liquid. So much. There's so much liquid, and I do not want that on my pizza. Squeeze. Though these guys, I mean, they hold so much liquid, so please don't skip this step, or else you are gonna have a soggy, sad pizza, and you're gonna be like, what is she serving us? But I promise, if you squeeze your artichokes, you'll be just fine. And then give them a rough chop with your knife, just so that we have some nice small pieces and they can go all over our pizza. I have drained my sun-dried tomatoes really well. They're super nice and soft. Now we're gonna put these guys on the very bottom because they have a tendency to burn if they are too exposed in the oven. So I'm going to do this. And you know, if you have folks in the household that aren't fans, you can always just put it on 1/2. That's the beauty of it. Pop those big old bubbles. I love the bubbles. I love a crispy crust though. I mean, I'm like a crunchy girl through and through. Give me the burnt, crispy pieces of everything. That's what I want. Okay, gorgeous. Now we're gonna do the spinach. So again, spinach has a tendency to burn if it's exposed. Not only that, but we want it to kind of cook a little bit underneath. Or just get soft since we're using fresh. I so prefer fresh here. Okay, just kind of even that out. You can take out like any big stems. This is not baby spinach, so if you have any kind of large stems, you can just take those guys out. And that basil is just dispersed in there. It's gonna be so beautiful. Okay, and then we're going to sprinkle on those artichoke hearts. Just like this. Oh my gosh. If you have chicken, I don't have any chicken on mine. If you have chicken on yours, you're just going to put it on right after the artichoke hearts, just right after this step. Very easy. Okay, now just want to spread this out, make sure that we're not we have a tendency to kind of want to clump it all in the middle, and I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm gonna move this so it's out of the way, and then we'll bring this closer so you guys can see it. I'm gonna take my provolone slices. I love doing these as slices. I don't know why. I really like kind of the big chunks, and it gets so melty. So I'm just gonna break these up into pieces just like this, all over the top. Provolone is so great for a pizza. It just gives you that just beautiful ooey gooey that you love. And then I'm using a shredded cheese blend. This is like a pizza blend. So it has like mozz and provolone and some Parmesan in it as well to give it some ooey gooey and some flavor. So we're just gonna sprinkle this on. Fill in any holes that maybe the provolone didn't catch. And I do want to make sure that I pick up any stray pieces off of my tray because I don't really want them on my tray. I want them on my pizza. So we're going to cook this in that 425 degree oven for about 10 minutes, give or take. So this is where you guys have to keep an eyeball on it and cook it to your desired preference. Some people just like their cheese melted. Everything on here is pretty much cooked. We just got to brown the crust a little bit more, melt the cheese. So if you like yours just melted, keep an eye on it. Look at about 8 minutes, but I'm gonna go for 10, maybe a little bit longer because I like mine really, really browned and bubbly. So I will meet you back here in just a bit. Okay, just pulled her out of the oven. Look at that. The crust is crusty. It is ooey gooey cheesy. I got some brown bits on there. This smells absolutely heavenly. I cannot even tell you. I am so excited about this one. So a couple quick tips. Make sure to let this cool slightly. If you try and pull this off of the sheet pan too early, then it will, some of it might want to stick and it will tear. So let it cool slightly before you move it off. Use a spatula to kind of get underneath. Some of the cheese might have kind of, wanted to adhere to that pan a little bit, but other than that, give it a minute to cool down, and then slice it up any way you wanted to. If you like triangles, if you like squares, it's a good one. I cannot wait for you to try this, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen today. I'll see you next time.